Good Tuesday morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing. Looking at our significant impacts in the short term, both today and Wednesday we'll see wind issues in the lee of the Sierra with gusty winds of 30 to 40 miles per hour. Also a broader area of both stronger winds and lower humidity across parts of Utah and eastern Nevada. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Some of these areas did have some wetting rains, though. We'll be looking at that in a minute. In the past 24 hours, looking at rainfall, you can see that we've had a trace to a quarter inch in this light blue area, and this darker blue along the Utah-Nevada border, some pockets close to a half inch of rainfall. You can see on the right-hand side we've had some significant lightning along with those showers, but they were, again, mainly wet. Looking at our fire activity, this is our new experimental map. New fires given by the red circles. We had some good initial attack going on across parts of southwestern Utah towards the Dixie National Forest down towards St. George and the Arizona border. A few spots across eastern Nevada. Precipitation over the past 7 days, quite wet across a good swath of Nevada, going into parts of Utah as well as into far northwestern Wyoming. And taking a look at how that is affecting our fuels, most of our ERCs are in the green or moist area below the 50th percentile. We do see some drying in our far northern areas, though, across the mountains of central Idaho, especially northwestern Idaho. Some ERCs already beyond the 70th percentile. Also between the 50th and the 70th percentile across parts of the Arizona Strip. Looking at some live fuel moistures and across parts of western Utah where we have some wind concerns, you can see that our cheatgrass moisture is along normal levels, but still has quite a ways to go before it gets down towards the really critical levels we see towards the end of the month. Looking at the infrared satellite imagery, the main feature is this deep low pressure area now dropping down towards the Washington coast. This deep low combined with leftover high pressure to our east will be creating a tighter pressure gradient given by these height lines being very close together. That increases the wind. We should see those effects especially across Nevada this afternoon and especially across the Nevada-Utah border as we go into tomorrow as this low continues to drop down to the south and east. So looking at our fire potential for today, we see that the driest areas will be across most of the western portion of the Great Basin, still quite moist in our northern and eastern areas. Weather conditions for this afternoon, you can see in those drier areas there'll be some afternoon wind gusts near 30 or even a little bit higher towards 35 miles per hour in the lee of the Sierra, extending into parts of the Humboldt Basin. Relative humidity levels in this area anywhere from 8 to 12%, maybe 15% further there. So getting quite dry with some of those downslope winds in some localized areas, a bit higher humidity as we head further to the north and to the east. Now looking at the weather pattern on Wednesday, that low pivots a bit further south, a good swath of clouds, moisture, and rain across the Pacific Northwest, and some of that higher humidity starting to creep into northwestern portions of Nevada and into parts of Idaho as well. You can see in our significant fire potential, most areas either in the yellow or green. Only areas that are staying in that dry tongue are down across southern Nevada, the Arizona Strip. You can see that they're in that dry wedge of air, missing most of that moisture, but getting some of the wind. And in terms of wind, again, in the lee of the Sierra, even stronger wind gusts through here, but this will be accompanied by somewhat higher humidity levels in the maybe 20% range or so. You can see the stronger belt of wind along and just east of the Nevada border into Utah. These darker red shades indicate wind gusts of over 40 to 45 miles per hour, where humidity levels anywhere between 10 and 20%. So dry, not critically dry, but something we'll have to watch, although with the recent rainfall there and some of the live fuel moistures can act as a mitigating factor. Looking down the road for Thursday, there's still that trough of low pressure, not moved too much off the northwest coast. Our PSAs, our driest areas, remain further to the south. You can see that wedge of dry air at the mid-levels affecting those regions. And if we take a look at weather conditions, you can see that still some gusts, not as strong across the lee of the Sierra and definitely diminishing across The other portions of the Great Basin, wind gusts overall fairly light. Humidity near seasonable levels, not critically dry anywhere. We don't see too much of this dry stuff except down in southeastern Utah. They're starting to dry out. This could be a trend for the weekend into early next week as heat starts building from the southeast back towards our area. Looking at precipitation over the next 3 days, this is today through Friday morning. Most of the Great Basin dry, except for a few small portions of north central Nevada going up into parts of Idaho. Some of that moisture from that low could creep in and wet things down a little bit. Going down the road for Friday, still that low pressure lingering with clouds and humidity across the Pacific Northwest, still creating a fairly tight southwest wind gradient, the driest air across our southern areas. You can see that we start drying out a bit more on our significant fire potential for Friday. Now taking a look at how things change for Saturday, you can see that all of a sudden we start drying things out a little bit more, creeping into now parts of central Nevada. Very hot just to our south and east across parts of Arizona and New Mexico. Looking down the road for Sunday, all of a sudden now high pressure is the big player. The low pressure off the Pacific Northwest has pretty much fallen apart, so we start warming up quite a bit. And by Monday, you can see a high pressure ridge for the strongest high pressure of the year so far, probably with the warmest conditions that we've seen so far this year will push in. You can see more of our area has pushed back into that critically dry brown category, so this is something we expect for this time of year. Precipitation, the 7-day total, not much. Basically, it all happens in the first 2 or 3 days that we showed previously. Otherwise, the rest of the time period stays fairly dry. And taking a look at the longer range outlook as we go from the June 21st to June 27th period, basically 8 to 14 days from now, big signal of above normal temperatures across our area and a good portion of the west. Also a drier than normal signal across most of our area as well. So things should be picking up for fire activity as we go into next week. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.